Hi everyone, my name is Jacob Evans and I'm an organizer at Sierra Club California, leading our statewide in-district lobbying program. This is a pre-recorded segment that'll give you an overview of important information about the program and give you the tools needed to have effective meetings with legislators. As you may know, Sierra Club California is a state legislative and regulatory advocacy arm of the 13 local chapters in California. We're based in Sacramento and have a staff that includes policy advocates who work in the legislature to pass bills that are good for the environment and stop those that would be environmentally harmful. One of the most important things Sierra Club volunteers can do is to help pass good environmental legislation and reach out to their legislators at home. This webinar details key steps to help you become an effective in-district volunteer advocate. Legislators care about what their constituents think. They know that your vote is what keeps them in office. Most key steps to being a good volunteer advocate in your home district are based on the notion that the better you know your legislator and the stronger your relationship, the more effective your lobbying will be. There are 6 main steps to strong in-district lobbying, and we'll detail each of those in this webinar. But first, for those who may not be familiar with the program, here's a short intro to in-district lobbying. Lawmakers often take meetings with lobbyists from special interest groups that advocate for anti-environmental policy. Lawmakers are constantly hearing from corporate interests, but we as constituents can counteract those influences and keep legislators accountable by working together as constituent lobbyists. Sierra Club California organizes in-district lobbying in collaboration with volunteers from across the 13 local state chapters. In small groups, volunteers set up meetings with their legislators to lobby for a predetermined group of bills during the spring and summer recesses. This year, the spring recess is from March 21st through April 1st, and the summer recess is almost all of July through August 5th. Our organizing efforts are guided by the Jimenez Principles, which emphasize the importance of working together in solidarity and treating one another with justice and respect. Sierra Club California comes in to provide volunteers with the resources to advocate for Sierra Club policy priorities with their legislators. We provide volunteers with an intro to in-district lobbying and trainings like these, and we support the coordination of meetings with legislators, organizing which volunteers are meeting with which legislators, and providing volunteers with the information to make effective appeals for our priority bills. What makes in-district lobbying so effective is that volunteers will share the information they gathered from their meetings with legislators with Sierra Club California's advocacy staff. This allows our team in Sacramento to adjust their advocacy efforts based on the data volunteers gather on how certain legislators are saying they will act on a certain bill. Now that I've gotten an intro to the program, the first step to in-district lobbying is to know who your legislators are. California has a bicameral legislative system, meaning that our government's legislative branch is split into 2 houses, the Senate and the Assembly. There are 40 senators and 80 assembly members, and every voter lives in both an assembly district and a senate district. To find out who your representatives are, go to findyourrep.legislature.ca.gov. To find out more information about your representatives, such as their phone numbers, email addresses, and in-district office locations, go to their Senate and Assembly websites. These are linked on findyourrep.legislature.ca.gov after you put in your location. You can learn more about your legislators by navigating to senate.ca.gov and assembly.ca.gov. Next, you'll want to get onto your legislators' mailing lists. Most legislators send out emails or newsletters about the issues they're working on or updates about what they're doing. They also give information on when they'll host local town hall meetings or meet your legislator-type meetings in your area. You can typically sign up to receive a newsletter by visiting your legislator's website. If you can't find a newsletter sign-up section on their website, contact the legislator's district office to be put on the constituent mailing list. As you can see here, I found the website for my Assembly member, Kevin McCarty. Right in the center is a tab that says Contact with a link to sign up for updates. After clicking that, I'm sent straight to the mailing list sign-up form. You can likely find your legislator's mailing list in a similar way. Next up is the main event of setting up a meeting with your legislator or their key staff to have a conversation about the environmental issues that we care about. Before setting up that meeting, though, there are a few important steps to take. There are 3 critical elements to having an effective meeting with your legislators. You want to be coordinated, be prepared, and be polite. Being coordinated is important so that volunteers head into meetings on the same page. This means being coordinated both logistically and in your lobbying efforts. Let Sierra Club California advocacy staff know you're planning on meeting with your legislators and find out if there are any specific policy issues you should bring to their attention. Coordinate with other active members of your local chapter who live in the district and are willing and able to participate in a meeting with the legislator or who may have already had one recently. Sometimes, depending on the specific issue you'll be discussing, it makes sense to bring along allies from other interest groups. In any case, be sure everyone you're bringing into the meeting with you participates in a phone call or meeting beforehand to plan what the group's message will be and how discussion points will be raised by the group. This will allow your lobbying team to speak with one voice and make a more effective appeal to your legislator. Next is being prepared. Call the district office to make an appointment to meet with the legislator either via Zoom or in person. Most legislators are at home on Fridays from January through June and parts of August and September. Usually they're in the district offices at the end of March or beginning of April for spring recess, in July for summer recess, and from mid-September through December. If your meeting will take place virtually, make sure you have a quiet, well-lit room available. Double check that your internet and or phone service is working beforehand, and when possible, try to avoid being interrupted by your kids, partners, or pets. If, after polite persistence, you're unable to get an appointment with the legislator, take an appointment with a staff member who works on policy in district. Have your talking points prepared before meeting with your legislators. Try to pick just 1 or 2 important issues to discuss, and make sure you know what you're going to ask the legislator to do. Sometimes you'll be asking for a vote on a particular legislation, other times you'll be asking that the legislator take some other kind of leadership on the issue. In any case, make sure you know what the ask is before the meeting starts. Remember, most appointments are between 15 and 20 minutes long, so be prepared to be concise with the information you're discussing. Remember the value of being cool, calm, and collected. Calmly state your position and make your ask, and then listen to the legislator's response. Try not to be argumentative if the legislator says something you don't agree with. If you're asked a question you don't know the answer to, say you don't know, but you'll find out the answer and get back to them. Saying, I don't know, but I can find out more info on that and get back to you is a valid response. And think long term. Legislators and legislative staff are more likely to meet with you again in the future if the meeting is productive and enjoyable. Once again, most meetings only last 15 to 20 minutes. Being concise and listening will allow you to learn a lot about your legislator and how to persuade them in the future by listening to what they say in the meeting. You want to arrive at the meeting at least 5 minutes early. Make sure you and everyone in your group are clean and dressed nicely. Even in a virtual meeting setting, it's important to be punctual and prepared. Here's an example of how you can set your meeting up for success. Begin by thanking them for taking the time to meet with you, and then have all members of your group share a brief introduction. This can include where you live in the district and mention 1 to 2 things that you spent your career or free time as a volunteer doing. For example, I'm Jacob Evans. I recently moved to Sacramento, but I'm a lifelong California resident. I'm a community organizer at Sierra Club, California, and a lot of my work is advocating for more environmentally friendly water policy. Introductions are important as they show your expertise and community knowledge to your legislator. If you're unsure of what approach to take when delivering your message to your legislator, here are some pointers on how to strengthen your argument. You can make an emotional appeal to their heart by sharing an anecdote about your or someone else's in your community's experience in relation to the bill you're advocating for. For example, sharing how you've been able to catch fewer and fewer fish in a river over the 10 years you've lived in your city and how this bill could help that. You can make a logical, fact-based argument by coming prepared with relevant statistics or historical facts. For example, sharing a figure that shows decreasing salmon counts in rivers across California. And finally, appeal to their hand, making the big ask for their support and asking how they'll vote on your bill. Your appeal can remind them of how important their decision on this bill is. After the meeting, be sure to send an email or written note thanking the staffer and or legislator for meeting with you. Be sure to include any follow-up information if you said you would do so. These notes are important not only to express your gratitude and build your relationship with the legislator, but they also allow you to press them one last time about the issue you discussed. Here's a short example of a thank you note that you could send to the legislator or the staffer that you met with. A brief thank you mentioning the bill that you discussed, reiterating how their support for the legislation will impact you and the environment, and touching follow-up information if they requested any. After the meeting, Sierra Club, California will send you a Google form where you can let our advocacy staff know how it went, what was discussed, and any questions they had or follow-up if needed. This information will help our policy advocates decide what actions they could take to make their lobbying efforts in Sacramento more effective. At the same time, you'll want to get back to your local chapter leaders and let them know how it went, what the substance of the conversation was, and whether or not there's any follow-up. Now here's an overview of the timeline for in-district lobbying this year. Next month, we'll be coordinating with volunteers to set meetings with legislators during the last week of March. After those meetings, we'll be reviewing the information we gathered in April and then setting up a program for summer in-district lobbying in May. In June, we'll be coordinating with volunteers again to set meetings during July for the summer recess. After that, we'll be waiting to see how legislators vote on the bills we lobbied for. Throughout all these steps, we'll have an open 2-way communication with volunteers to coordinate meetings and share information from those meetings. Here's a little bit of information about the bills we're lobbying for this spring. AB 460 and AB 1337 are both bills that would provide the State Water Board with the ability to rein in abuse and inequities in California's water usage and distribution. AB 460 would give the State Water Board certain powers to prevent wasteful water usage, and AB 1337 would allow the board to curtail water diversions in times of drought, ensuring more equitable access to water. We'll send out updated fact sheets and informational documents to prepare volunteers on why Sierra Club, California finds these bills important. Also, this year we're implementing some community guidelines to ensure that volunteers know they're working with other volunteers who are on the same page of working in a safe, respectful environment. In face-to-face meetings with legislators, volunteers represent both Sierra Club and their local communities. Knowing this, it's important that we act in ways that align with Sierra Club's volunteer code of conduct and the HUMAS principles for democratic organizing. You'll be asked to read through and acknowledge those 2 pieces when signing up to join the program. And that segues nicely into our big ask for you. Head to bit.ly/IDL lowercase sign up to join us as an industry lobbyist this year. You'll be asked to share a few details about yourself and who your legislator is, and then to review the community agreements. To wrap up, here's another reminder of resources to stay active and involved with your legislators. Subscribe to their newsletters, follow them on social media, and attend local town halls. They're in office for a number of years, so you could be someone they know they can count on to give them a good sense of what the local folks and the Sierra Club care about in their district. Here are some other resources, some of which you already saw earlier in this presentation. The final link, though, is the Sierra Club District Lobbying page, and this webinar will be posted there along with other information. Thanks for tuning in, and thank you for your interest in joining Sierra Club California as an industry lobbyist in 2024.